amending Resolution 2011-157, appointing Robert Smith, Electrical Subcode Official and Building Inspector. Do I have a motion to adopt?
Move.
Do I have a second? Discussion. Mr. Mountain, I think we all need an explanation as to why we're amending this.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Carlson. It's really a technicality that she's reviewing.
Yes, I sent the resolution down to the Department of Community Affairs, which we are required to do. And they called back and said that when you appoint an electrical subcode official, it must be for 4 years. So we did not appoint in the original resolution for 4 years. We only really appointed for this year. So it has to be a 4-year appointment.
And that's what this resolution does.
Yes.
So as you can see, once again, we are forced to do something that we may not want to do, but you're hamstrung by the laws of the state of New Jersey. Is there any other discussion? Roll call vote, please, Mrs. Carlson.
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Mr. Merck? Mrs. Thomas? Mr. Tolley?
Yes.
Mayor Trippettini?
Yes. Resolution 2011-166, authorizing discussion about the presence of the public, matters pertaining to contracts, public works union contract, lease agreements, personnel crossing guard. Do I have a motion to adopt?
You also have something else for that in the
Discussion.
Oh, okay. Motion.
I really think the lease agreements, we need the entire committee present, so I'd like to remove that and ask the mayor to put that on for our next meeting.
We first have to have a second motion, then we can discuss.
That's what we had, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you seconded it?
Yes.
And you would like to remove the lease
Lease
agreements?
agreements and ask the mayor if we would put that on the agenda for the
No
next
problem
meeting.
putting that on the agenda for the next meeting. Mr. Talley, are you in agreement with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you wish to have some discussion, Mr. Talley?
Yeah, we were going to add the discussion of last night's meeting.
Shared service.
Shared service.
Regarding contracts and release of confidential.
And the last one would be, yes, the last time would be release of privileged and confidential information.
Okay. So that we modified the resolution to omit these agreements and shared service agreement and release of confidential information, right? Roll call vote, please, Mrs. Carlson.
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Mr. Merck? Mrs. Thomas? Mr. Tolley?
Yes.
And Mayor Trippettini?
Yes. This time, I'd like to open the meeting once again. Here, persons present. If anyone would like to comment, kindly come to the microphone and state your name and address.
Patricia Zimmerman, 3 West Main Street. This is kind of off the top of my head, but the second speaker, when you had it open to the public, suggested that we send a representative when the mayors have their meetings about the regional high school. And that struck me as a very good idea. It would seem that the meetings that you're having, people from the other towns would be included if they wish to come, and the mayors might be coming. And if not, they can see it on television. And I think it would be to everyone's advantage if we also knew what they were planning, what approach they were taking. And so it seemed to me that in the newspaper I read that they invited us to send any one of our residents as a representative. Not necessarily representing the town, but sitting in on the discussions so that we are aware of what they're doing. Now, there may be a downside to this that I am not aware of, but I just thought it was a good idea. Then another comment. I made this comment once before. It has to do with the bridge in Brookside. I think it's very important that we get in on the ground floor to be sure that they don't try to straighten out the road or widen that bridge, because then we'll have a problem with speed going through the town. And I just think if we hold off on this, they might say, well, the engineers have made the drawing that we can't afford, you know. So I just think we have to be sure to get in on the ground floor of that.
Mr. Mountain, that is the county.
That's correct. And we are at that ground floor.
Good.
They
Stay
wouldn't
there.
move beyond that process without where we're at. So we are in that position.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Thompson, 6 Old Mill Road. I don't understand why we're not participating with the other mayors.
We are.
We're having a representative go.
I'm the representative.
I guess, I haven't been coming to meetings, but I guess what I've read from the newspaper was that you had gone to a meeting with someone else that was not acceptable at the meeting, and that you were not going to go to any further meetings?
No, I said I will be happy to attend all the meetings. I intend to attend all the meetings.
And then you bring the information from the meeting back to the public?
That's what I've been doing.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick Monahan, 20 West Main Street. A couple of other points that I wanted to make. First of all, regarding the shared services discussion, I think it's great progress, it's good moving forward. I love to see that. Single stream recycling has been great so far, and I look forward to continuing that, especially with the borough. And I also wonder, maybe in that agreement, maybe we might be able to use their recycling center, which they have over, I guess, up there where the road is. But that would be very helpful for those of us who really don't have to take yard.
Ironia Road.
Sorry?
Ironia.
Because I think they're able to actually take yard waste, leaves, things of that nature over there, which we don't have a place to do it. So great progress, love that. Regarding the recording of the meetings, I got a couple of points. The first is, I think it would be great if we could look into the audio system in this room, because it seems like for a little while it was really good, and then it got really bad again. And sitting in the audience, it seems
You can't hear us in the back?
well, it's very fuzzy, blurry kind of sound. I don't know what that's about. But it would be great to look into fixing that. But the other thing too is, how much would it really cost for the town to just record the meetings on digital tape, on a server? People do it all the time. You don't have to pay anybody to digitize it or produce a DVD. And just, you put a camera in the front pointing to the microphone and a camera in the back pointing to you guys, and bang, you got yourself a video. It can't cost that much money.
I can answer part of the question.
Okay.
The TV board is looking at the back end side of that, to be able to work on the digitized process. The costs have come way down, and it's not as exorbitant as it once was. I think there's a strong interest among many of the board members in finding money and coming here to support that. I'm not as familiar with the costs of what it would take to make this room and the system associated with it to do what would have to be done. But again, the cost of a lot of this technology is coming down, and certainly if we are able to receive it on the back end, I think it would be a wise, at least investigation, to look at what we have to do on the front end to be able to match that.
Right. And the other point to that is, I think it's very important for the township. I mean, as great as Tag has been at recording all these meetings, I think the township really should not be relying on any outside organization to inform the public what it's doing.
Members of our technology committee were here. I see one left. Maybe I'll sit down with them and see if they can answer some of those questions and give us proposals to correct that and to meet.
Perfect, thank you.
Perhaps you could have one of the future meetings, have them from the presentation.
Can someone write that down so I'll see? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The last point, and I know we haven't really talked about the dog ordinance yet, and I'll just make a couple. I was reading it just as I was sitting here tonight, Section 5A is about dog nuisances, and a couple of them we want to look at, like point H is basically, it seems to refer to any dog on any public playground, schoolyard, public recreation area in the town of Mendham, whether leashed or unleashed, which would seem to apply to every single dog owner in town, especially anybody walking along Patriot Path with their dog, which happens all the time. Anybody walking up to the middle school or elementary school, basically any place. I think some of the language in here might be a little overly broad to what you're trying to accomplish, and some of it might not be really, what do I want to say, defined very well. Like, what is the meaning of habitually barking? I don't know what that means, but my dog does it, and I wish he wouldn't. It would be really, I think we just need to look at that section of the ordinance. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Green.
I think we see some other comments right now, and it's something I hadn't thought of, but I had a complaint from one of our residents that walks in some of the trails in the community, that the owners are not removing the dog waste from along the trails. And I would suggest that possibly we just be, at a park upstate New York, they just have a little sign, your dog, your poop, you scoop. And I think it's just common courtesy. I know when I walk my dog, I have one of those little things on the leash to pick up after her. And I just like to remind our residents, and I don't think we need an ordinance, but I think I'd like to remind our residents to please be courteous when you're in a public park, knowing that there's going to be children walking in there after you. Please clean up after your animals.
Hi, and Summer Road. I just wanted to try to clarify maybe some questions about the hookup. If the TV station, if it does get a server, that won't really facilitate the tapings of the township meetings. That just will mean that it's easier for us to program. However, the biggest problem is making sure the audio is fine. The cameras, you know, making sure the mics are all level, making sure you're using the mics, making sure Ann's got the volume turned up at a reasonable level, and then running a feed. And it could be, you know, it could be a little camera permanently up there, all digital, that would stream. So my suggestion is in the negotiations with Comcast, throw that in the mix. Tell them to set you up. And the taxpayers aren't paying for it.
It's a great suggestion, and it is on the table.
They should do that there, and I think they should do that in the elementary school for the meeting. That's a nightmare for acoustics. So it has to be properly mic'd. It's not just a matter of having a camera stuck there, because if people can't hear, and you know how frustrating that is when you're watching television, they'll turn it off. It doesn't matter how good the image is. So, you know, ask for both. Maybe you'll get the town hall. You know, I mean, but I would certainly negotiate that way.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Well, I want to say thank you all for joining us this evening. We're going to go into executive session, and I expect executive session will last approximately 40 to 50 minutes. And please have a nice weekend. We will see you again on our next meeting on October the 12th. 11th. Tuesday the 11th.
So you're gonna go in the trivia meeting then?